What's going on, Planet S.O.N family? It's your main man, JD. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button for me. This is Drinks with JD.
So like other stuff I was interested in growing up besides music, I really liked like Call of Duty when I was in like middle school and I started to show interest. I used to watch like those Call of Duty YouTubers and try to do like highlights, and that's kind of how I got into like content creation. I used to have a YouTube channel back in like 7th grade, and I used to react to like people's music leads in school and just like
that's cool, man.
Make like funny reaction videos. And so I've always been interested in like being behind a camera. Before I wanted to do music and really like fell in love with it, I really liked making YouTube videos. Okay. And then like as an early kid, like I like to draw, you know, and be creative. Yeah. That's always just been something, you know, because I feel like I have like a lot going on in my head, and I just like to express.
I mean, you're an artist. You're an artist.
Yeah. So I've always been into that.
How it just comes out.
Yeah.
No, I'm exactly the same.
So yeah. So
I understand.
Yeah, like as a kid, my parents had to work, so I'd spend a lot of time by myself. So like while I was by myself, I would just like, you know, I'd always be working on something. Either it was like making videos, and then
or drawing or everything.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I wrote a couple books, and they're amazing. Really bad. They're not great.
Yeah, okay.
They're in my Google Drive somewhere.
Hopefully you release them, or you know, something else. So no doubt. Okay. All right, man. So you know how you mentioned how you're from Texas, right? However, at this moment, you live in SD or in San Diego, right? I'm assuming that you're only here because of your military service. Yeah. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about your military service and why you decided to serve our country.
So it's actually a funny story about how I joined the military. I don't really talk about it too much just because I don't want like the music to be too associated with it, because I want to build this up to where it outlasts that career. But I've done like a YouTube channel talking about like Navy stuff. Yeah. But like my story for like how I joined the military, it was funny because I didn't really ever plan on joining the military. And like at first I was like really against joining the military. Okay. But when I was in high school, I was like the yearbook editor for like 3 years, and that's
awesome, man.
That's super corny.
No, I think that's pretty cool. Man. No.
Yeah, so I used to run the yearbook shop. And shout out to Coach Hill if he's watching, because he was a super great mentor for you know, helping me with that. But when I got out of high school, I was just working in a restaurant called Texas Roadhouse. Okay. Yeah, I worked there for about 1.5 years. And shout out to all the people I used to work with too.
There you go.
That place was lit. That was probably my favorite job I ever had.
There you go. You been to the one right here?
Nah.
Oh yeah. You're like, nah, it's not the same, right?
I went to one in Baltimore when I felt homesick, because I used to live out there, and like I would go there a lot. So I was like, I'd be homesick. I was like, let me go to Texas Roadhouse. But out here, it's a good vibe, so I don't really need it. But
anyway, after Texas Roadhouse.
So I was living in my parents' house, and I was working at Texas Roadhouse. And one day my dad was just like, "What are you gonna do with your life?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this music." He's like, "Yeah, but like how?" Like, and I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna move to San Antonio, like just get some money together and just move out, get an apartment." Boom. That was gonna be my plan. Yeah. And I told him my plan. He's like, "That is the stupidest plan I ever made in my life." So he was like, "Before you do that, just consider your options." I kind of did a really bad job about like applying for colleges and trying to get into schools. It was something that I didn't understand the value of until like after I left home.
That happens a lot to a lot of people.
I was like, I thought it was a scam when I was in high school, when I was like, I'm not going to college, I'm just gonna make it in music, and my dad was like, well, if you're not gonna go to college, like at least talk to a recruiter, just so you get an idea of like what your options are, because when you're gone, like you're gone. So he always said like there's 2 ways, you know, you can leave my house, you can leave with my support or without my support. And he wasn't going to support me leaving until I weighed out all my options for my future. And I actually had a rapper friend back from my hometown. His name was ICV. And he joined the Navy, like, I want to say like a year before I did. Yeah. And he was living in Spain, Greece. Yeah. Yeah.
Was he still making music?
Yeah, he was still making music, not as much as he did before he left, but just watching like that lifestyle. And I'm a businessman, so I was like, okay, if I joined the military, I could probably make music in these other countries and get on in like Italy or get on in Spain.
Yes.
So like my whole thing was like I was strategically joining so I could do music in different areas,
That's cool, man.
which I have done. You know, like doing it in Baltimore. Like I have fans in Baltimore. I got fans out here, and you know, in Texas, that's my home state. So obviously they're gonna rock with me. Yeah. But I joined because my dad was like, weigh out your options, because he gave me like a set time before I had to leave. So it was like July, and
that's amazing.
I was like, I'll be out by the end of August, and he's like, okay. So and I actually did leave before the end of August. That's cool, man. That's cool. I left on August 22nd, 2023.
Wait, you left August 22nd?
Yeah.
That's my entrance date too.
Sick.
Yeah, August 22nd. August 22nd. No, that date will always stay just in my mind, in my heart. It's a part of me. Yeah, it will stay with me forever.
Same, man. August 22nd, 2022. That was when my whole life, you know, changed. So I talked to the recruiter and I was like, okay, like I guess we're gonna lock in. I found the public affairs job. So what I do is it's called a mass communication specialist. I take pictures of like helicopters and like planes taking off and stuff like that, like documenting history and stuff.
Yeah, I had friends that did that in the Air Force.
Yeah. So it's like all media stuff, and my mind, I'm always thinking about the music. I don't know how to not think about it. Yeah. So when I was picking my job, I was like, okay, this will teach me how to, you know, do music better because I can learn how media outlets work. I know what they're looking for. Yes. I can learn how to take photos. I can learn how to make videos. And when I was doing that, I was like, okay, this is a smart decision. Plus, I'll get to travel completely for free.
All right, man. So you know how you're mentioning how you know you see your friends traveling everywhere and all that stuff. Where has the Navy taken you? So far?
Okay.
Like, have you been to different countries or different cities, different states?
Not yet. Okay. I haven't been to other countries yet, but it's on the cusp. I actually got an appointment to get my passport.
Okay. There you go. Okay.
But so I went to Chicago for boot camp after playing like this huge show in my city, and it was like going from like all the way up here, just feeling like incredible, to like being in boot camp and being like depressed. The longer I'm in the Navy, the more I like it, and I appreciate it and what it's done for my life. And you know, I'm really grateful for my dad for pushing me because I don't think that I would have been able to make the impact that I have done now if it wasn't, you know, for my dad being like, "No, you gotta do something with your life," you know. And so.
But hey, shout out to your dad.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny though, going from like, okay, I'm getting popping to like being in boot camp. It was just like the most like humbling experience because you know how it was, man. They say like they really break you down.
Really break you. You're the lowest thing on earth.
Yeah, like you're not even human. So it was just like, oh man, like.
But fortunately, you were able to go through that, and because that helps you become a man and also a follower. And a leader. And what's a good leader? A good follower as well. You know
and that experience, it was like at the time, it was like, why did I do this? Yeah. But then hindsight, I'm like, okay, this made me a lot better. Yeah. And so now when I'm dealing with these people in the music industry, I know how to like go to war with people. And I know I'm a lot mentally tough than a lot of these people. A lot of these people can't deal with the mental you know what I mean? The games that they play. I'm with you. So for me, like it made it extremely easy to do this music thing because the people in the industry aren't always like
it's something different.
Yeah, they're not always like the nicest people. So you know, the military was just like, okay, let me do this.
It teaches you something different, and also it gives you some thick skin, and also it helps you overall value yourself.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because you go on these things and it's just like the military is such a hard existence at sometimes where it's like I'll get to these things and they're supposed to be hard to like other people and I'm like, this is like the most easy thing I've ever done in my life. Like, and so like when I look at things like college and stuff, like people were like stressed about it and I'm like, this is honestly super easy. You're just telling me you just sit there and go to a classroom, you just get your education and it's all like paid for from what we do. So I appreciated that. And then to go back to your question that you asked about where it's taken me. So I lived in Baltimore for like 6 months, learning how to do my job. Didn't really do too much with the music. I got my equipment from back home. I started recording in my barracks room, just like going crazy, recording every day again. And it was like I had to figure out how to rap again because it's like I came out and I was a completely different person from when I went in to the military. So like when I got out of boot camp, like I was just completely different. So I started rapping and I had to relearn the fundamentals, relearn how to sing, do everything myself again. So I started taking that time to just kind of build everything up. And we'll talk about it more. And then TK died and I was like, okay, I don't know how to keep making this music. And so I almost quit making music just because, and I had a lot of personal stuff going on too, where it's just like, okay, we got to take a break from this. And then I moved to San Diego, and San Diego is like one of the most amazing cities in America. I love San Diego. And I love Baltimore too. I would say both cities have really shaped, who I am on top of Texas. But when I was living in Baltimore, I didn't really get to take advantage of just like the full culture and really experience it. So I came out to San Diego and I met my friend, call me Curtis, and this guy named Chris. He goes by like Eternity. These guys are great guys. They're good, really good friends of mine. And Curtis, we started going to open mics together in San Diego. And I'm like, okay, now I'm relearning how to rap all over again because I have to learn how to rap for crowds out here because crowds out here are completely different from crowds in Texas.
How so?
San Diego's a lot more chill. So, and also the West Coast sound is a lot different than the East Coast sound in Texas. So I feel like West Coast has a lot more of like a bounce to it. It's shit you play and you just like vibe out to it. And that is something I really appreciate about San Diego, but the crowd's a lot more chill. In Texas, I was making like mosh pits and like getting on stage, screaming, being like, come to the front, like that's swearing. Awesome, yeah. But in San Diego, if I start doing that, people are gonna be like, So I was like relearning. So I went back to that boom bap sound, tried to learn the fundamentals again, and then I started building it back up. And then I went back to Baltimore for like 2 months because I had to do some schooling out there, and I was learning how to make documentaries. And while I was doing that, I met this guy named Rome. And Rome ran a studio called HBM Studios in Baltimore, Maryland. Probably the most impactful studio of my career because Rome literally sat there and taught me pretty much everything I know about melody. So I would book out his studio and I would be like, okay, how do I do this? And I would start trying to like sing because I was like, I got tired of that fundamentals and I started going back to like the modern day stuff, the stuff that I'm like known for doing now. I started making that sound and crafting my own sound while I was there. And Rome was like huge in that journey because he was just telling me like, I'd be in the studio and I'd look at him, I'd be like, did I hit that? He'd be like, nah, do it like this. And so I started like playing around. And then I met this producer named Surreal who worked for Rome. And Surreal was just like insane with making beats. And then I had another artist that I mentor out there. His name is Vice Trini. He's like 15, 16, something like that. And I met his mom and I used to take him to the studio with me. And, Vice Trini doesn't live in like a really nice part of Baltimore. So I was going to all these different places in Baltimore, genuinely learning like the culture of the city. And that's why I will always love Baltimore because it's really the trenches out there. Like there's like a nice part of Baltimore where it's like the harbor, but the rest of it is just like, it's like the projects. Mm-hmm. So I'll go there and I met like so many amazing artists and, Rome would help me get into clubs because I'm not 21, but he would like be like Rome or Surreal. Since I had a camera, they would let me in and I wouldn't drink or anything. Like I'm not going to like disrespect the venue. Like that's a big thing for me. Like if a venue lets me in, I'm not going to go break the rules, get them in trouble or anything like that. But I'd be in there, recording, working. Yeah, I'd be at the DJ booth with Surreal, just like,
that's cool, man.
Play this. And, he would play it sometimes. But they were teaching me, like, so much about music. And so when I was there, I was filming my documentaries. And so a lot of my music was, like, crafted around that. And, I was also just helping Vice Trini get to the studio. Took him with me, and I met so many great people. And then they took me to this event called YouTube Avenues. Mm-hmm. And YouTube Avenues is like this thing started by YouTube Music to help people in inner cities get the information they need to make music.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and in Baltimore, it was the first one ever.
Yeah.
So I went to the first YouTube Avenues event, and they broke down like the industry, like how these major labels release music, how they, you know, make things moments. And I brought a notepad. I was taking notes, man.
Gaining that knowledge.
I was taking notes, and I met big rappers like Money Jake, who Rome manages. I got scammed out of $500.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, I met one of my favorite.
How so? You know what? That's not. I guess we're gonna have to focus on negativity, but all right.
We can talk about it.
Yeah,
we can talk about it.
Oh, I guess maybe people could learn from your experience.
So. All right. So this is like the biggest business lesson like I've learned in life.
Yeah.
Do not pay somebody for the job until it's done all the way, or you're like locking it in and you know it's gonna get done. Yeah. Because there was this rapper named Jay Grams, and he used to be managed by Rome. So he was telling me like they were cool at first, but I think they were already like kind of rocky just because Jay was started to do this weird business behind his back, and he wasn't telling his manager things. And so Jay sees that me and Rome are cool, and he starts talking to me, and he's like, oh, well, I'm about to sign to Def Jam. And so he's like, we do a song, I pay him like $250 to do a verse, and I still have it, like the song is good to go. If I wanted to put it out tomorrow, I'll put it out tomorrow. But something was like off about him almost, because I was going to make a documentary about him just for free, because that's what I was doing for artists in the city, and that was my way of like really networking and showing love to a lot of people. Because I at the time I was learning so much musically, I didn't have too much to offer with the music, and I was like, I know how to make these videos.
Yes.
You know, so I was going to make a video with him, and I went to a show, and one of the things I found out was like he like pretty much lied to the promoter saying he was going to sell a bunch of tickets. He didn't sell his tickets. And so this guy's doing a lot of bad business that I'm not knowing about because I'm not from the area. And I'm just looking at these Instagram followers seeing, you know, he's got 45K Instagram followers, verified, been on tour with like these big artists. He's been on, you know, what's it called? On the Radar, the thing that Drake and Central C just went on. Lil Yachty's been on there. He's been on Sway in the Morning. So I'm thinking this guy's like super official.
That's crazy.
And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, this is great. Like, this is going to be a big thing.
Yeah, it sounds official.
He's telling me he's about to sign to Def Jam, and I'm believing him because I'm seeing all these things, right? And then we're going to do this EP together. But when I pay him, I pay him $250 for the EP, and I didn't have the money at the time. Mind you. Like I was already going way over budget for what I was doing because I was doing a lot of stuff. I was going to the studio. I was locking in with bigger artists out here. I was trying to start the empire, get everything going. I didn't have the money, and this man like literally like put it on his mom that he was about to sign to Def Jam, and that the project we were gonna do was gonna go to Def Jam. We're gonna do like 5 songs. And then there's gonna be like a Def Jam project because he told me he had like his label, like the label that he owned, was gonna go to Def Jam. And
like a
so we were
gonna
gonna release it under that label. And pretty much I talked to Rome. I just tell Rome about it because me and Rome are like really good friends. So I'm just speaking to him in passing. And he's like, oh, like, that's cool. Like, I just tell him we're going to do a project. I was like, yeah, man, he said we're about to sign to Def Jam. And Rome, since he's my homie, he's not going to let me just, like, you know, like, he's not going to lie, you know? So he's like, nah, like, he's not signing to Def Jam. And I see these, and, like, he shows me these texts, and he's like, yeah, he's not signing to Def Jam. And I'm not going to, you know, he wasn't snaking him. He was just showing him, like, bro, like, just be careful in this business situation, right? Then I find out he's over here popping pills and doing all these things. But like,
so there's some different stuff in the background.
There's some weirdness going on in the background. That's like, it's strange.
And it overall affected you.
It had me messed up because the day before I found out that he wasn't signing to Def Jam, I paid him the other half of the $500 to lock in the project because he was like, yo, bro, like, can you please just send me the money? Like he was just,
so he was even asking
he
for
was
it.
begging
And then,
me, bro. He was begging me for money. And
Yeah.
I found out some other stuff. Like he got dropped. He was about to sign to another record label, and he asked like the owner for like $40 on Cash App, and he didn't get it. Yeah. So this is the guy.
Overall, just bad business.
Bad business guy. One of the videographers I worked with. He still hasn't paid him his money for the video that he shot for free. You know, and he's going around just saying like, oh, 45K on Instagram, been on tour. He has all these things, so he's going around just scamming all these artists.
So overall, beware for
and
everybody trying to portray something.
And so we lock in the studio, right? And so I pull up to the studio. It's in like PG County, and like right outside of DC, mind you. And Jay Grams doesn't have a car, and so I was gonna give him a ride, but then I was like, I don't really want to ride. I just didn't want to talk to him. You know, because he's playing with my money, and I'm getting a little frustrated. So I'm like, yo, bro, just pull up to the studio. And so I pull up to the studio. He's like, yo, bro, I can't make it. Like I have something came up. Like
And you already own the money.
Of course, I'm like.
So wait, he doesn't have a car, but $45,000.
He doesn't have a car, but he doesn't have a car. But I paid you $500 if you can't get a fucking Uber. Like that was my mindset. How am I gonna pay you $500 and you can't get like a $30 Uber?
But he has 45,000 followers, right?
He has 45,000 followers. He lied to the studio, telling them this was a Def Jam project. Like this project is gonna go to Def Jam. So he scams them out of this free session. And I show up and I do the session, and then.
He was just lying overall.
I'm like, you know, like he's not. Don't send him these songs, bro. Send me these songs, because I told him at the beginning, I was like, this is not like a Def Jam thing. And so there was this whole situation. Like we had his address, and we were about to just like pull up on him, and I was like, nah.
Just let it go, man.
Because it's Baltimore, and I know like it's it's not the city where you want to play around with people like that. So I was just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Just. Let me let it go.
Take it as a lesson.
Because it's just like I have faith in God. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like if I'm gonna trip about $500, I'm not gonna get revenge on nobody. You know,
revenge is the Lord's.
I'm not a street person anyway. So what do I look like pulling up to somebody's house? What am I gonna do? Like asking for the money? So it's just like just let it go, man, and just take it as a lesson. Now. I'll go on a podcast and be like, F this guy. You know what I mean?
all right. But overall,
every now and then to troll him, I'll be like, where's my $500? And I'll copy it on Instagram. It would like delete the comment.
So it's okay to be petty. It's okay. All right. I understand. Well, hey, hopefully he sees this, right?
I hope this goes viral.
All right.
But for all the audience watching, man, just know, like, don't pay nobody until they do the job, especially these rappers, because followers doesn't mean anything.
That's right.
Followers can be inflated. Followers could be lied about. They could be dead followers. You know, from 10 years ago. You know, somebody can have an Instagram account that's got 45K, and only about 100 people are active on that account. You know, just because somebody's got a lot of followers and a blue check mark next to their name, it doesn't mean that they have value.
Like you even said, you didn't even have a car.
Yeah, like you don't. They could not have a car. They could be addicted to drugs. Like you don't know these people. So you know, and if you are gonna buy a verse from these type of people, usually go through the management. Like it's a lot easier to go through management and be like, okay, I'll pay the manager a little bit more because the manager's gonna take his cut. And this was something that Rome explained to me. He's like, always go through the manager with these artists, because these artists will play with you. And sometimes if they're signed, they will like do a deal on the low. Like I heard about this one guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but he got scammed out of like I want to say like $5,000 because he got this deal from this like major artist, and he was gonna do like this verse for him for like $5,000, and usually the guy charges like $10K ish, and so he's like, oh, I'll do it for $5,000 because the artist is cutting him a deal. He gets the verse and everything, but then the label doesn't clear it because he didn't clear it with the label. So just make sure when you're working with these artists, all the people watching, that you definitely get a contract and you go through management and you go through all the proper channels. Not saying like don't work with these artists, but just make sure they're official, because you know you can be like me and get scammed, and pay them whenever the job is done all the way.
No doubt.
Like I like to do it half.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you. However, I'm happy that you're taking it as a lesson learned, and also now that you have advice to give to artists out there who are trying to get in the game. But all right,
it's a funny story, bro. Like I still think about it. I'm like, man, like where's my $500? But I know like the money's gonna come, and I don't do this for money.
Yeah,
but still. And like the thing is, man, if he was just like,
it's the principle, man.
If he didn't lie to me about being signed to Def Jam, I still would have paid him. Like that was the other thing too.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, so let's keep talking music, right? So when did you know that you fell in love with the hip hop genre?
Daygo.